Good morning. This is the Wednesday, January 21st meeting of HCOG. And I'm sorry, HCOG, yeah, right, good start, of LAFCo. I sit here for,
Yeah, let's go home.
we sit here for so many other meetings. Yeah, this is LAFCo, and it's January 21st, so welcome everybody. Let's do our flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, let's see who is here today. Do we have Commissioner Benzanelli?
I'm here.
Wonderful. Commissioner Bushnell?
Good morning.
Morning. Commissioner Madrone?
Present.
Thank you. And then Commissioner White?
Here.
Wonderful. Commissioner Kelly?
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Weinreb?
Absent.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Nicolini? I believe it's absent.
Absent.
Okay. And then do we have alternate Commissioner Wilson?
Absent.
Okay. Alternate Commissioner Garnes?
Absent.
Alternate Commissioner Couch?
I'm here.
Yay.
Yay. Alternate Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Wonderful. And it looks like alternate Commissioners Couch and Johnson will be seated as voting members today.
Correct, yes. So since Elaine's not here.
Move on up.
Yeah, move on up. And, she may be coming, because she did confirm she was attending, so we'll see though.
Yep.
Thank you.
And if she does attend, would he move back down? Okay, very good. Thanks for helping us with the order of things. Welcome to both our alternates. Thanks for being here today, as well as everybody else.
And our new member.
Yes, our new member, Kimberly White, Mayor White from Arcata. Welcome. So you're filling in for Meredith on a couple of different roles, right? Yeah, so very good. Okay, with that, our next item on the agenda, item 4, is appointment of chair and vice chair. And so we'll consider nominations for those that somebody would like to nominate for chair and vice chair. I believe, I've been chair this last year. Meredith was the vice chair. I'm interested in serving again, but it's at the pleasure of this board. So anybody have any nominations or want to fill these positions?
I'll nominate Commissioner Madrone for chair.
Okay, any other nominations for chair? Okay, well, why don't we go ahead and take that one in order, and then we'll move to the next one. Do we need a roll call on this, or?
Do we have a second?
I'm sorry.
Oh, we'll need
Do
a
we have a
second.
second to the
I'll second.
nomination? Second by Couch.
And this can be a voice vote.
Okay. Well, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you all. I'll do my best. And when I make a mistake, I love it when you help correct me. So thank you. And now nominations for vice chair and our interested parties.
Is anyone interested? That's usually the way I approach these
You bet.
things.
I mean,
so-
I would be interested
Okay.
if there is no one else that wants to do it. I've been chair once, so if somebody, Heidi, do you want to? Are you interested?
I don't know what the role of vice chair is.
If the chair is
yeah.
not around, then you fill the role of running the meetings. Possibly also, depending on how the LAFCo delegates go, there could be a filling in for that, I guess. If the chair had been appointed as the voting member but wasn't available, then I'm assuming the vice chair might fill that role. Other than that, there's not a whole lot else that happens. The chair meets with Colette once a month or every 2 months to sign bills and paperwork, things like that, kind of reviews some agenda items, but there's not a whole lot that the vice chair has to do, right?
Okay, if it's not gonna be, I have this much time left in my schedule, so if it's not gonna be a huge draw on my time, I would accept that nomination. Is that a nomination?
Well, there was
Okay.
a
Just asked, yeah.
Okay.
interest,
That's a yes.
levels of interest. So we have two interested parties.
That's okay. I nominate Heidi Benzanelli,
Very kind.
vice chair.
And
Whoops, I'll second.
okay, so we have a nomination by Commissioner Bushnell and a second by Commissioner Kelly. Voice vote on this as well. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Well, thank you all for once again working really well together. Appreciate that. And so we've got that item completed. And next is public comment. Members of the public may address the commission concerning non-agenda items during this time. Please note that the commission is not permitted to discuss or take action on items not on the agenda. Is there any public comment in the room? Seeing none, any public comment online? None online as well, so that completes our public comment agenda item. Next is the consent calendar, and we only have one item, and that is the approval of the November 19th regular meeting minutes. Does any commissioner wish to pull this item from consent? Seeing none, can we have a motion for consideration of approval of the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion to accept the consent calendar.
Second.
Motion and second, a voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you all. Public hearing items, that's the big item of the day, one of them. And this is the Humboldt County Services District North McKay Ranch annexation. And I believe our executive officer will give us a rundown. And please note for the record that Commissioner Weinrab has just shown up. And so you'll be sitting up here, and Richard will step back down to the alternate slot.
Oh.
Thank you for your brief term there. Appreciate you being here.
Give her a
And I
moment.
believe Elaine's placard is right there. If Mr. Johnson, if you could put her placard up on the top up there. It's right there in front of you. Thank you very much.
I also want to note that the general manager for HCSD is planning to attend, but he has 8:30 staff meeting, so he is expected to come into this closer to 9:30.
Okay, closer to 9:30. Well, it'll probably take that long, huh? Yep, okay, very good. Thank you for that. And welcome Commissioner Weinreb. We just finished the consent agenda. We're now on item 7, public hearing items, which is the Humboldt Community Service District North McKay Ranch annexation. And Colette's gonna fill us out on all this.
Thank you. Well, good morning, commissioners. So before you today is the proposed annexation of approximately 72.35 acres of the North McKay Ranch subdivision into the Humboldt Community Services District for water, wastewater, and street lighting services. And before we get started, I did want to recognize, in addition to expecting General Manager TK Williams shortly, we may see John Ford as well. I did invite him, and I hope he can attend. And then we also have Kurt Kramer in Zoom, as well as his staff Janeth and Travis Green as well, who's also on Zoom. And then also just before we dive in, and for the benefit of the commission, I did want to clarify, since this is a public hearing, that I wanted to clarify participation requirements under the Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Act, which is LAFCo's guiding act, and particularly as it relates to commissioners being able to participate. And Commissioner Benzanelli, she serves on the Humboldt Community Services District Board in addition to serving as special district representative on LAFCo. In Government Code Section 56325.1, it expressly provides that a LAFCo commissioner may participate in, discuss, and vote on a matter involving whether it be city, county, or special district that appointed them. So service on an appointing authority or a special district board does not by itself constitute as disqualifying or a conflict of interest, and it does not require recusal. And recusal is only required if a commissioner has a separate financial interest under or conflict under the Political Reform Act. So I just wanted to remind everyone, because this happens with representation from our cities, from the county, from the special districts. Even county members have voted on this item because it went to the Board of Supervisors as a subdivision approval. And so those discretionary land use entitlements were voted as well. So just wanted to speak to the Cortese-Hertzberg Act and how it specifically addresses this item for commissioners. As you may recall, the project was brought forward as an informational preview at your September 17th, 2025 meeting. And at that time, we presented it. The staff report was, really introducing the project, speaking to the planning history, the prior land use entitlements and environmental review conducted by Humboldt County as lead agency, clarifying LAFCo's role as responsible agency for the annexation to Humboldt CSD. Today's item returns as a formal commission action following completion of the property tax exchange process and issuance of the certificate of filing. The proposal has 100% landowner consent, and therefore the annexation will not be subject to a protest proceeding subsequent to this process. And staff did voluntarily notice this item and agendize it as a hearing item. Again, it has 100% consent in the Cortese-Hertzberg Act. There's streamlined provisions that provides for no notice and no hearing for 100% consent items. But we did voluntarily notice this in the time standard and agendize it as a public hearing just based on the magnitude of the project. And it's a big project for Humboldt CSD and for the county. We just wanted to, even though we noticed, we have received 0 comments or questions from members of the public. This is a district-initiated annexation, so Humboldt CSD's board did approve a resolution of application, and in that requested specific terms and conditions. They worked really closely with the proponents to prepare the plan for services and to establish mutually agreed upon terms and conditions. And so that really set up the application and for LAFCo to bring this forward and incorporate those terms and conditions into our resolution of approval that is included in this packet. Humboldt CSD would be extending water, wastewater, and street lighting services to the subdivision. And which has already been fully entitled by Humboldt County as the lead land use authority. LAFCo does not have land use authority. So when it comes to subdivision approval, the general plan amendment, the zoning, the development agreement, that role rests with the county, and that has all been completed. The decision by the county also included certifying a final environmental impact report, which is also LAFCo as responsible agency will also be relying on the environmental impact report previously certified by the county, and will certify it with the commission's focus on the specific purposes for LAFCo. So that's adopting the mitigation monitoring reporting program and making specific findings. And so that's part of your resolution 2026-01. And then, so we have that. We have two resolutions. So the first is the CEQA resolution, or the California Environmental Quality Act, in certifying the EIR, adequate in making findings that it's adequate for LAFCo's purposes and approving the annexation. And then adopting resolution number 2026-02, which is approving the annexation subject to conditions by Humboldt CSD, and including LAFCO standard conditions, which include completing the 30-day reconsideration period, county surveyor review of the map and boundary description, and payment of any remaining fees. We discussed that the proposal has 100% landowner consent. It's within Humboldt CSD's adopted sphere of influence. Wanted to point out that we do have John Ford here, so he'll be available to answer any questions related to the EIR or the subdivision approvals. And with that, I'm available to answer any questions. This was a big packet and a large staff report, so thank you for your diligence in reviewing it and coming prepared with questions. Appreciate it.
Great, thank you very much. Any questions from commissioners? Seeing none, I guess we'll go to public comment. Any questions from commissioners? Sorry. Seeing none, we'll go to public comment at this time and see if Director Ford has any comments he would like to make.
I'm really here to answer questions.
Very good. Thank you for being here. Don't see any in the audience. Is there anybody online that has any comments, questions?
I don't see any hands raised at this time.
Okay, we'll go back to the board for comments then. Commissioner Benzanelli.
So during our introduction as commissioners, we get a presentation about our job here. The very first slide here states that local agency formation commissions are local agencies formed by the California State Legislature in 1963 to encourage orderly formation of local government agencies, preserve agricultural and open space lands, to discourage urban sprawl through the efficient delivery of services. While serving on the commission, all commissioner members shall exercise their independent judgment on behalf of the interest of the residents, property owners, and the public as a whole. Any member appointed on behalf of local governments shall represent the interests of the public as a whole and not solely the interests of the appointing authority. Your LAFCo hat. Commissioners don't represent the agency that they were elected to serve. They must work on behalf of the interest of residents, property owners, and the public as a whole. They work to further the purposes of LAFCo and the Cortese-Knox-H Act. And while LAFCo does not have land use authority, they cannot regulate the use of land, property development, or subdivision requirements. And factors considered in the sphere of influence focus on current and future land use, current and future need and capacity for service, and relevant communities of interest. So today I'm here as a LAFCo commissioner with my independent judgment on behalf of the interests of residents, property owners, and the public as a whole. As I walk door to door, asking the public, how can I best serve? They had two primary concerns, their rates and the McKay tract. The public generalizes the whole forest behind Walnut to Redwood Acres as the McKay tract. Not McKay Ranch, Upper McKay, Mid McKay, and all of the other development that is that's being considered for this area at separate times. We're talking about the McKay Ranch today. But September 16th, 2020, before I was a commissioner, Green Diamond Resources presented the Mid-McKay Ranch annexation for an 88-acre subdivision, including residential and neighborhood commercial development. They've also completed CEQA and had the zoning changed to residential. LAFCo staff recommendation at that time was to file the report. On June 11th, 2025, right after the Community Services District approved the LAFCo application for the McKay Ranch, Green Diamond approached the Annexation Subcommittee and regarding the Mid-McKay and Upper McKay, referring back to this has been in the works since 1995 and is even mentioned in the Eureka Community Plan. If these three projects have been in the works since 1995, 30 years, then this is a comprehensive phase development. Just because there are different landowners, I believe that the cumulative impacts should have been studied. One of the comments on the traffic impacts for the McKay Ranch EIR was by a Caltrans engineer, and that was that the cumulative impacts on traffic of this development, of all development, should be studied, and I cannot find evidence that that ever happened. But I do understand how logistically these things occur and these studies occur in silos. It just makes it very difficult when you are an elected official and you're representing your constituents. So you can see now how the public may not distinguish between all of the McKays and how the slippery slope regarding infill and sprawl develops. Now, finally, we have got staff at the county who gets it and understands that the whole Walnut Drive corridor development needs to be studied as a whole. A complete assessment of infrastructure and services needs to be addressed as a long-term development plan. Thank you, Mr. Ford. Fine. Back to the project at hand. Through the CEQA process, the McKay Ranch subdivision was classified as infill, but there's no existing infrastructure there, and it infills really nothing but forest. My job here as a commissioner is to discourage urban sprawl through efficient delivery of services. I'm not saying that we're not there. I'm just saying we're not there yet. Now, I understand that the county's pressure to meet RHNA. That's the Regional Housing Needs Assessment. However, Humboldt County has been in a state of zero growth, even population decline. We heard everyone is going to flee the cities after COVID when they can start working remotely. However, according to the 2020 census, the Humboldt County's population was 136,463 in 2020, and the 2025 population estimate, according to California Demographics, Data Commons, and the World Population Review, which is the only data that I could find, is estimated to be between 129,122 and 132,380. That's almost a 2% decline in population. Now I want to talk about our community capacity as a whole. Earlier this month, we saw king tides that topped 2 feet over prediction, with king salmon inundated from the channel to the bay, dumping acre-feet of water into the Eureka wastewater treatment plant. In December 2021, we had rains 12 inches in 12 hours, and that's December 21st of this year. It exceeded the pumping capacity for Eureka, for Arcata, and the district's infrastructure. Climate change and sea level rise is doing exactly what was predicted. And as a community, I don't know how we can be prepared, but we're not. So although the city has agreed through this negotiation that the district can increase a 5% flow would remain below the district's contracted capacity, as a community, we're still planning here for an increase of total use, which we're building a bypass ponds. We're addressing compliance with the enclosed bays and estuaries permit. And this all requires significant capital investment, including secondary treatment upgrades, or potentially construction of an ocean outfall or full plant rehabilitation. That's coming directly from the report here today. So with zero population growth, our wastewater treatment plant capacity maxed out, and current planning for basic compliance a regulatory atmosphere in California that's definitely not loosening, I have to go back to my first meeting in LAFCo when we were instructed to address efficient delivery of services. So now I want to mention traffic, and I know that that isn't really our job here, but I have to bring it up. I understand that all of this was addressed in the EIR and CEQA process, but because as a commissioner, my role is an independent judge on behalf of the interests of residents, property owners, and the public as a whole, I have to ask on behalf of my public, how can we possibly increase traffic in Cutton? In the presentation here under road maintenance, the last paragraph, we admit that while development agreement references planning and the right-of-ways for a through road at Manzanita and Harrison, the funding mechanism, cost sharing, and construction schedule is unresolved at this time. Through to where? Through from where? Manzanita and Harrison dead end at a cul-de-sac that's phase 1, or we're going to have to bulldoze a house to make it through? I'm not quite sure how this can even be a thoroughfare. This is incomplete. And on the traffic note, before 2014, when I started actually following this, we had another great big project, and it was mixed-use development and planned housing. It was called Forester Gill. The community, the city of Eureka, the district spent tens of millions of dollars on the crosstown interceptor. There were changes, lawsuits, practically a complete destruction of the working relationship between the city and the district, which has been work, really hard work, to rebuild trust and a working relationship. But back to the point. The EIR at that point required a mitigation measure of a traffic impact fee. Since then, has it been levied? Will it be levied for this project? Forester Gill was a drawing of houses and businesses that never happened, but the Martin Slough Interceptor did. Our ratepayers have been paying 65% and will in perpetuity for that project. Now, after a $1.5 million investment in the Hemlock reversal by the district occurs, we, the district, will finally be able to use the Crosstown Interceptor for this project, the McKay Ranch project. Will the traffic impact fees be levied? And if so, on whom? Do they know? Or does that mitigation measure just go away now? We have had neighbors collaborating on Slow the F Down. That was I believe that was Safe Routes to School funded project. We have bicycle fatalities on Herrick and recently a fatality at the golf course, not to mention that fence at the bottom of the hill. A great portion of the F Street traffic flows straight through Campton and the Herrick Avenue folks passing straight through Ridgewood onto Elk River from Walnut. With mitigation measures for will the mitigation measures for the traffic associated with the Martin Slough Interceptor project be enforced? Everything in this community is so interconnected, and it really stinks. But at some point, as an elected official and as a member of LAFCo, I have to stop straddling the chasm and pick a side. So I know that was really a lot to digest. It was a long presentation, but these are the things as a commissioner that are really important, and as a community member, really make me lose sleep at night. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any other comments from any other commissioners?
I had one. So
Yes,
I was
Commissioner
wondering about
Couch.
the impact of, I see this as water, wastewater, and street lighting. And I was wondering about street lighting and the new dark sky ordinance. Was that considered in this, or is there any impact from that?
I think that'd be a great question for John Ford. There is, for each phase of development, a lighting and landscaping plan that must be submitted to the county and approved. So that's part of their development agreement. And my assumption is that they would be required to comply with the county's ordinances related to that.
Okay.
I think that
Maybe it's a head nod, yes.
Director Ford.
Thank you, Chair. John Ford with the County of Humboldt Planning and Building Department. The new lighting ordinance would apply to all the lighting that's installed in this, not only related to the street lights, but any other lighting related to the housing. And if I could just bring up a couple of points that I think are worth bearing, is one of the concerns was sprawl and comprehensive planning. So when you take a step back to 1995, perhaps before, the Eureka Community Plan was updated. And it allocated certain areas for future residential development, but then it created a hard buffer beyond which there would be no development. We understand that today to be the McKay Forest. So the comprehensive planning that was done there envisioned development in North McKay, Mid McKay, and there's a couple other small little areas in there, but then it created a hard buffer so that there will be no further expansion beyond that. And then relative to the cumulative impacts, I just wanted to point out that that was evaluated as part of the Eureka Community Plan when that was adopted. That was reevaluated as part of the 2017 General Plan. This was all part of that. And then relative to the traffic mitigation, the traffic impact fees, you're correct. I want to say Commissioner Benzinelli, but
Yes.
Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. So since those fees were not in place, part of what the EIR did look at was what is the fair share of the traffic impacts associated with this development. And what we did is we consolidated that into looking at improvements that could be made. And the requirements are that 2 intersections be improved at certain phases to improve traffic flow. As part of the fair share, there was a cost analysis done for that. And then the Board of Supervisors actually modified that slightly to allow that to be some kind of non-motorized vehicle improvements that would equal the cost of those intersection improvements. So if there were traffic mitigation fees in place, what the developer would have done is paid the traffic mitigation fees and not made those improvements, because the traffic mitigation fees would address those improvements. But instead, what the developer is required to do, because there is no traffic mitigation fee, and I don't mean to talk in a circle here, is that they are required to make those improvements as mitigation that is consistent with what was required as part of the Martin Slough Interceptor. I hope that helps a little bit in the discussion.
Does the developer know that?
Absolutely.
What are those improvements?
There are the 2 intersections as you go down Walnut. One is, I think one's right on Walnut, and then one's on the other side closer to Sequoia Park. Those were the 2 intersections that had the lowest level of service. And so the mitigation goes towards improving those.
So just from someone who lives there and drives through there on a daily basis, if the only traffic coming from this is 200 units, but when we look at this as a whole, we're really looking at 5,000 units dumping out onto the Walnut Corridor. When you look at it all, the cumulative traffic impact, then we don't have anywhere else for everyone to go except into Cut and Proper, improve those 2 intersections at Redwood and at Harrison and Manzanita, Harrison and whatever the Hemlock, I think that street is. It's you can slow them down and you can meter them through, but it's not going to change the number of cars there. So those are, that's when I walk and I talk to people. That is the primary question. Is where's everybody going to go? How are we going to get out of here? And I think without planning for other ways to exit that forest, exit that area, we saw what happened in Paradise. We need to think about ways that you can get out. that traffic can flow out and that people in it can frankly escape.
I appreciate the comment. We do try to address that.
I know. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we've got Commissioner Bushnell.
Thank you. I just wanted to state also with your statement that during the Board of Supervisors presentation, the mitigations that were put onto the developer were above what minimums or maximum standards could be, with those concerns in mind as well. And I believe, and Director Ford can come back up, but I believe that there was consideration for crosswalks, more lighting, more non-motorized, which would be biking lanes, all kinds of things that were put on the developer, who then said that I'm not going to do this, it's going to be too expensive. And so I don't know if he's changed his mind and is going to go forward now, but those concerns that you stated were also concerns of the Board of Supervisors, which we did additional mitigation issues to require above and beyond. And I wanted to allow Director Ford to kind of comment on that a little bit.
Thank you, Supervisor Bushnell. Yes, there were requirements to install offsite improvements to complete accessible path of travel, to get to the Murphy's Market, to get to other places so that people could safely walk and, safe route to school. There is also the requirement to install a enhanced transit facility within the commercial development that's there. The idea being is that people could walk to a transit facility and take buses into town to the employment places. So, it's hard for a lot of people to envision a lot of people using public transit, but a lot of the planning efforts that are being made right now are to really concentrate development around nodes, that those nodes could be serviced by public transit. So there may be a lot of people, but hopefully those people contribute to a more regular public transit system that is more reliable, and then people use that rather than just pouring cars onto the road.
I have one additional question, thank you. With the concerns about being able to exit in case of fire, with state codes also changing and building codes changing over the last 2 years to address those kinds of concerns, the in and out for the McKay track, can you explain that, please?
Yeah, the McKay track, I believe, does have 2 access points that go on each side of the ball fields out there. And then there's the Manzanita court, that's phase 1. And then obviously you can go to the right down Walnut and you go into Eureka proper. But you can also go left and go out around Ridgewood. And so there are a couple of different routes to get in and out of that area that need to be evaluated so that they don't get so congested. But we do look at those things. I mean, I know words are cheap, but that is part of the discussion.
And then my final question would be about subdivisions and pertaining to the fire marshal and what that looks like. And is that evaluated by the state fire marshal?
I don't know if it was evaluated by the state fire marshal. This is within a district area. And so we do coordinate with that. That's particularly part of the environmental review process. Even though this was evaluated, the land use was evaluated as part of the general plan, because we were changing land use and zoning to allow more flexibility in terms of the unit design, to not just be a single kind of a mono intensity of development, to allow multiple different densities. We needed to change the land use and zoning to do that. In the EIR process, that's absolutely part of the discussion, is whether or not additional facilities are needed to provide safe and reliable service.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners' comments? Yes,
I
Commissioner
want
Benzanelli.
to. I didn't get a clear answer when we were talking about the impact fees. So the traffic impact fees and these improvements will be addressed, and that cost will be borne by the developer.
As part of phases of the development, those improvements need to be completed before they can record the map. So yes, those improvements will be done by the developer. I think one set of improvements need to be done before the second phase begins. And then a second set of improvements needs to be done before the, I think, fourth or fifth phase begins, because there's about 6 or 7 phases.
And so so no improvements on Herrick Avenue or F?
Repeat that?
No improvements on Herrick Avenue or F? Because ultimately that is where the traffic flows. Campton, into the city, and out Walnut onto Herrick Avenue. It's actually I think that's called Elk River and Herrick Avenue intersection.
Yeah, I don't think we saw that much additional traffic going in that direction. We didn't see an impact down there. But the other thing that I want to maybe go through, maybe this is too much detail.
No, go
But
please.
we evaluated a lot of intersections. And so originally, the mitigation was to improve them all. And we realized that that wasn't legal, because the developer had only a share of the amount of traffic going through those intersections. So that's where we developed a proportionate share and then focused those improvements on 2 intersections, because that was the feasible way to do mitigation. One of the struggles with even mitigation fees, if you don't spend those fees in a certain amount of time, they go back to the developer. So that's not going to be the case here. What's going to happen is we're going to get improvements. They may not be improvements to everything, but there will be on-the-ground improvements. We felt that that was adequate mitigation that reflected the developer's fair share of the traffic contribution to the cumulative impact.
Of this project, that's part of the CEQA and the IR of this project.
Mm-hmm.
But is that including the impacts that were, the mitigation measures that were included in the MSI, the Martin Slough Interceptor EIR, which because Forrester Gill didn't happen, it's still development that is feeding wastewater into the Crosstown Interceptor. It's just development that's occurring in another location.
So are we still talking about traffic?
Yes.
So
I'm talking about the impact fees that were a mitigation measure of the first project in 2014.
if those mitigation fees were in place, then they would pay the mitigation fees probably at the time they pulled building permits, and those mitigation fees would go into a fund, and that fund would be held until either there's enough money in that fund to do certain improvements, or if it's held for more than 5 years, I believe, the money's returned.
So the answer is no, because Forrester Gill never happened.
What I'm trying to get to is that because those mitigation fees weren't in place, the EIR still required traffic mitigation. And that mitigation is not payment of fees, it's hard improvements.
Okay. And that's going to happen in addition to the traffic impact associated with this project.
The traffic impact associated with this project is mitigated by the improvements that are required. It will not be required to pay additional mitigation fees. It has mitigated its impact. If mitigation fees are adopted in the future, then those improvements may not be required or wouldn't be required, because you can't require both. Yeah, it has to be a proportionate fair share.
I absolutely understand what you're saying. What I'm trying to figure out is we had a project, we had an EIR, there was a mitigation that was required as a result of that project in 2014. Part of the project, the housing part, didn't happen. So the increase in traffic didn't happen. But the Martin Slough Interceptor, which was the EIR, it did happen. Now that project serves another project. Does the mitigation measure that was required for traffic for Forester Gill now just go away? And now we look at, are we still in compliance with the EIR from Martin Slough Interceptor?
My answer to that, thank you for asking the question like that. My answer is yes. The traffic is being mitigated. The Martin Slough Interceptor recognized that there was a growth-inducing impact.
Right.
And so that growth-inducing impact would generate other impacts like traffic, and that needed to be mitigated. It is allowable under CEQA to have substitute mitigation measures. So by requiring improvements without a mitigation fee, that is the equivalent of a mitigation fee.
Understood.
I-
And we're not mixing the EIR from McKay Ranch with the EIR from Martin Slough Interceptor. Those are two separate projects. Those are two separate requirements, and both of those are going to be met by this project or future development.
For this project, the requirements of the Martin Slough Interceptor are being met because traffic is being mitigated. That was the objective of Martin Slough Interceptor. It's a growth-inducing impact. We need to mitigate traffic. City and county, you both need to do traffic mitigation fees. Neither have done that. So those aren't in place. So what the county did in approving Mid-McKay was said, you've got a traffic impact you've got to mitigate. Here's how it's going to be mitigated.
It's a twofer then. I get it. Understand. Thank you.
Thank you. And any further comments?
No, Director Ford answered my question during
Okay.
that whole thing.
Very good. Any other commissioner comments, questions, clarifications? Hearing none, I guess public comment at this point. I don't think we. Yes, did I? I did not. So I guess the public hearing has been open for a little while. I just want to clarify that we are in a public hearing for the record. So are there any public comments in the room? Any public comments online?
I don't see any hands raised at this
Okay, and I think that's maybe the second time I asked for public comment on this one, so we got our bases covered. What's the pleasure of this board? While you're looking for that, I just want to say thank you, Commissioner Benzanelli, for your due diligence, for your constituents, your community. These things are complicated. You know, on one hand, we want all this housing. On the other hand, we're in a forested area. On the other hand, we got traffic. Everybody knows Cutton's already pretty complicated with traffic and all that. So I just want to say thank you for doing your homework and presenting your points of view to us. You know, this isn't the last of the development up there. Director Ford, could you, the Walnut Creek and Walnut Road project that's now funded, $300,000, I believe, for that. How does that fit into all of this in terms of traffic and circulation? Is that kind of going to be looking at this bigger picture of development in that area?
It is going to be looking at the bigger picture in terms of how do all of these, if all of these areas were to develop,
Yeah.
what are the critical utility infrastructure needs? And so rather than trying to look at each one individually, a tank here, a line here, it's we need this amount of storage, we need this amount of capacity. And hopefully we can get to a place where we have done good utility planning and work together as a community to really understand how to make sure that development pays for itself and existing ratepayers aren't adversely impacted by new development, and that we are able to see, dare I say, orderly growth.
Okay. And as was mentioned, there is a second way out down Ridgewood. I believe that goes down to Elk River Road. Is that
Yes.
correct? And as we know, Elk River Road can flood, like in this recent storms. So while you can get down there, you maybe not be able to get out from there. So I assume that this big study might be looking at. Would it also be looking at those
This study
issues?
is really looking at the utility infrastructure,
Okay,
not so
okay.
much the roads.
So that's a different impact that'll have to be looked at as additional subdivisions come forward in this area. Like you said, thousands of units potentially. I think this one's 320,
24, yeah.
not 200, but 320 units
Yeah,
for this
yeah.
one. Yeah, some
maximum
Yeah.
because that includes an assumption of multifamily units, which won't be more than that, but could be less.
Okay, very good. Yeah, so I mean, I assume that as other units or other subdivisions come forward in this area, looking at the Elk River Road in terms of floodproofing, so it actually is an emergency route out under a storm condition, things like that. I mean, it's only so many days out of the year that becomes an issue, but it's getting worse, not just at King Salmon, but anywhere down by the bay. I think Humboldt Bay is predicted to have the greatest impacts from sea level rise of anywhere in the state of California, and Lower Elk River is certainly part of that prism. So thank you.
And I want to mention something since I have two board members and city staff here as an audience. Is from my very first meeting, I had mentioned the importance of mapping, and I know that we only do boundary mapping here, but from a community perspective for the whole county, if we are looking at mapping the existing infrastructure, the roads, the water, the wastewater, our utilities, our ability to communicate, our electricity. Once you have that in place, then what we can see is this is the place where we have to do the least amount of investment for growth, rather than having someone just owns the property and says, oh, we're going to grow here. And then we have to do these studies after the fact to figure out how that's going to happen. We need to take a proactive approach as a community and say, let's see what's best for the community in the most efficient and productive manner.
Through the chair, if I may.
Yes,
I look
please.
forward to continuing that conversation with you that has been initiated, and we will be coming together as a greater community soon to
Thank you.
take that discussion further.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Bushnell.
Thank you. I do want to recognize that, when you're talking about the impacts, you're talking about the impacts for the McKay subdivision, which would be up to, I think it's 324 units, not 5,000 of people that are there. And those impacts have already been established and already should have been dealt with and mitigated. And so, while it may be frustrating to people that are in that area, they at one time, were also part of a frustration for other folks. And so when we're considering something, and I understand it's the impact of the area, the entire impact of the area is what you said, but really it's what the impact of those 320 units could do to that area, not the total of 5,000. That's why it's a shared impact, not a total impact, that the developer doesn't have to deal with every intersection. And I just wanted to make kind of a statement of my thoughts when we're discussing this. Also, I wanted to ask Colette, today we are going to try to approve resolution 2602. Is that correct?
First, we have two resolutions
Okay.
in the packet. 01 is attachment E. And
Okay.
so that is for certifying the environmental impact report
Okay.
previously certified by the county and making findings relative to the approval of the Humboldt CSD's North McKay Ranch subdivision.
Do we need to
annexation
do those
project.
separately, Ryan?
Yeah, let's do them separately. So that's 01 is for CEQA, and then 02 is for approval of the annexation.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to approve resolution 01, 2601, which is to certify the CEQA document.
Okay, is that adequate language for? Yep, great. Thank you very much. Do we have a second to that motion?
I will second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Again, roll call or voice vote.
Roll call, please.
Roll call on this because it's adopting resolutions. Okay, roll call, please.
Okay. We are.
Can't hear.
Oh, we're not hearing you well.
Oh. Sorry.
There you are.
1 second.
You're better now.
I can hear you now, kind of.
Crystal
The
clear.
heater on in my room because it's cold. Okay. So we are voting to adopt Resolution 2601, certifying the CEQA documentation for the North McKay Ranch subdivision. Okay.
Annexation.
Let's start with annexation. Thank you. Commissioner Benzanelli,
No.
Commissioner Weinreb,
Yes.
Commissioner Couch,
Yes.
Commissioner Bushnell,
Yes.
Commissioner White.
I probably can't abstain. Is that correct?
You can abstain if that's your decision.
Does she have to say why she's abstaining?
That was my concern, is that the reason I would abstain might not be a reason to abstain. I don't have a conflict. I just don't feel like I have enough information. This is my first time being,
Of course.
That's sufficient if that's your reason. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
To abstain? Okay. Commissioner Kelly
Aye. Or yes.
and Chair Madrone.
No. I believe it still passes, correct?
We have 4 yeses.
It passes.
Good. Thank you for the clarification.
Through the chair.
And yes, please.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2602.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Moved by Bushnell and seconded by Kelly. Roll call, please.
Okay, so now we are voting to adopt Resolution 2602, approving the annexation of the North McKay Ranch subdivision to Humboldt CSD with conditions as discussed in the resolution and staff report. Commissioner Bushnell,
Yes.
Chair Madrone,
No.
Commissioner White,
So I can abstain.
Yes. Abstain.
thank you. Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Benzanelli,
No.
Commissioner Weinreb,
Yes.
and Commissioner Couch.
Yes.
And that's again 4 yeses.
And passes.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for your work, your questions, considerations. And with that, we will move on to the next item on our agenda. Thank you, Director Ford, for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, item 8, business items. We have our mid-year financial report for fiscal year 25-26. Executive Officer Sanchi.
All right. Moving forward to that. Apologies. Okay. All right, so I wanted to provide a mid-year financial update for 25-26. So we did amend the budget at the last meeting. If you recall, we made some revisions to adding funding for legislative advocacy for $5,000. You approved the proposal for a special study for North Coastal Fire, and that was for $56,500. And then we increased both the revenue and expense categories for application fees to align with just the level of applications that we've been seeing. We still have a balanced budget at apart from the 5,000 legislative advocacy, we are drawing from reserves. So you'll see that amended budget in the attachment, and then the mid-year actuals next to that. And I like to provide a couple of prior fiscal years so you kind of see the trends. But we're looking really good mid-year. We're not over budget on any line items, and I don't have anything else to add. It's looking really great. So thank you.
Well, as always, thank you for your tight management of this budget. It's not a super flush budget, but we have what we need to operate.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you
do.
for that. Commissioner Bushnell.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask about around legislative. We put aside that money, which was to talk about the annexation of lands in TPC zones and CAL FIRE. And so have we started that?
Yeah,
work?
I'll give you an update on another agenda item
Okay.
for the status of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you,
That's all
of
my
course.
questions.
Okay, great. Any other commissioner questions on the budget? Okay, let's see if there's any public comment. There's nobody in the room. Anybody online?
No.
Okay, entertain a motion. Or do we just file and accept?
Receive and file.
Receive and file. Okay, so no motion needed. Okay, great. Okay, our next item on the agenda is the appointment of voting delegate for LAFCo business meeting.
This one, LAFCo has a special meeting, a special business meeting scheduled for February 23rd from 10 to 11:30. It's via Zoom, which is very nice. They are, there's bylaw changes and just a status update on just the overall association's strategic planning and efforts to really address concerns that have been expressed over the last couple of years. Bylaw changes, I'll provide an update on that once the full packet comes out and the staff reports. My understanding is it's a continuation of bylaw changes that were approved at the October 2025 business meeting, which allowed for the regional officers to be voting members of the LAFCo board by region. And now they're transitioning that from the regional officers to executive officers. And they're also LAFCo for each region. Currently, there's county, city, special district, and public member representatives from each region. They're proposing to reduce those seat designations and just provide more flexibility for each region. So I think this is in response to challenges of recruiting board members, also just having a strong board, and by having LAFCo practitioners, executive officers from each region being allowed to also be a candidate for the board, they're seeing it as a way to strengthen the overall board makeup and ongoing, just ongoing board makeup. So I can continue to provide updates on that and inform whoever wants to attend this. It's open, so I would probably offer it to the chair, but this is the commission's decision based on availability and who you want representing Humboldt LAFCo.
Great, thank you for that. Just very quickly, I will say that I have a dental appointment I've been trying to schedule for a while, exactly at that time. But I could probably shift it again if I had to. But if there is somebody else that would like to attend, I mean, Commissioner Bushnell did attend the LAFCo meeting with the two of us back in October, I believe it was, as well as having attended several others as the chair of our LAFCo here. Commissioner Benzanelli, you're now vice chair, so I'm just see who would like to.
Be happy if Michelle could do it. I'm actually have a conflicting appointment as well, which I don't want to cancel.
Hear you. Commissioner Bushnell?
Yeah. What time? It's 11.
10 to 11:30.
11:30.
I can attend. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So could we have a motion?
motion for Commissioner Bushnell to attend the LAFCo special corporate business meeting Monday, February 23rd from 10 a.m. to 11:30
As our voting delegate.
as our voting delegate.
Okay, thank you.
And I will second that
Okay.
motion.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you very much for filling in. Appreciate it.
Good luck on the dentist.
Yeah, that's always fun, right? I'd rather go to the LAFCo meeting. Yeah, at any rate. Okay, thank you for that. And then our next item on the agenda is, turn the page here, informational and continuing items. Is that correct? Yep, looks like it. 8.
We're on 9A. So
9A, the Brown Act update.
Great, thank you.
Always fun, yeah.
Yes. So we have updates to the Brown Act that were signed, Senate Bill 707 on October 2025 that that will apply in 2026. And so you received a copy of the Brown Act via email, and it's also posted on our website. There's also just changes, and I think more, it's, I think, a good guide with regard to like social media requirements and meeting decorum and accessibility accommodations. So those are all laid out and I think clarified now, which I think really supports the workings of commissions and boards. And then also, I think an important one to point out is the remote meeting participation options. And so before there was both emergency circumstances and just cause. Those have been combined now. There's just updates there, but it's important that, we already are providing the remote participation. So we're doing good with meeting those requirements and having commissioners attend in person unless there's specific reasons. And so we've been complying with this. So, and then there's other additional changes for eligible legislative bodies that I will not go over because we are not one. And again, we provided links to several guides, and those are also on our website under resources. So I'm available for any questions and ongoing too, if there's ever any questions about Brown Act or, LAFCo proceedings and meetings. So thank you.
Thank you for that. And if I understand the changes correctly, while we can remote for just cause, et cetera, remote into the meeting via Zoom, there still has to be a quorum present.
Correct.
In order for that to be allowed.
Yes.
Yeah, which hasn't been a problem here. So, but just that was a minor modification. Maybe not minor, but
Yeah, no, good one. Thank you.
yeah, okay. Present in person, you have to have a majority or a quorum, which is a majority, present in place in the meeting for others to Zoom in. If you don't have a quorum in the room, nobody can participate.
Yeah.
So, all right, any questions? Okay, that's just file and receive, I believe. Thank you.
Yes. The next one, 9B, is related to Form 700 ethics and training requirements. So just a reminder of our annual filing for Form 700, the Statement of Economic Interest that is due to us April 1st, and all your other elected offices. And LAFCo staff, you can just send a copy to Crystal or myself. There's ethics training. We just like to remind you. So there is a new requirement, and that's outlined in the staff report related to SB 827. Okay. 827 that requires that within 1 year of assuming office, or 6 months for officials assuming office on or after January 1st, 2026, and every 2 years after, you need to do the ethics training. And so that's changed just a little bit, that timing requirement. And there's a link to the FPPC course, and that takes about 2.5 hours. It can be completed. You can stop it and start it. There's short quizzes, and then upon completion, you get that certificate, and you can download it and then send it to Crystal or myself. And then there's a new fiscal and financial training requirement, and that's for additional 2 hours for fiscal and financial training every 2 years. And that covers topics such as budgeting, financial reporting, fiscal oversight, revenues, and stewardship of public resources. And so I'll just keep you posted as I hear of courses coming online for that, and we'll get you set up for that. And I'm sure there's going to be some through like the California Special Districts Association, for which we're members, and those would be free courses. So when I hear them, and there might be something through LAFCo now too, since this is a requirement. So we'll get you some free courses that you can connect with, that you can link into, and meet these requirements in the near future.
Great. Thank you very much for that update. And I will note that we do have 5 members that do need to get updated by their city councils or cities, special districts, whatever it might be. That includes Commissioner Kelly, Garnes, Nicolini, Couch, and Johnson, I believe, that expire with this meeting and need to be reappointed by their appropriate agencies. Does that sound right?
I'll provide an update on that with regard to the status of terms.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that one's 9C. So we are.
Oh, yes. Excuse me. I
No
jumped
worries.
ahead
No
there.
worries. So.
Can I ask a
Yes.
question? And do we need to receive and file that?
Yeah, maybe we should. So receive and
could-
file.
through the chair.
Yes, please.
So the Form 700 and ethics training. So the ethics training is still 2 years, right? And
It is.
And so in the past, our commission has asked for updates of who needs to do that and who doesn't.
Great. We can provide that.
Couldn't you do that again?
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
And then the Form 700s are yearly, so those all have to be done.
Yep.
And then the new training that you're speaking of, since it's not available, do they have a required date that they want it?
Let me look into that. I think they're probably providing a little bit of time since
Okay.
it's a new requirement.
Okay.
But let me look into that
Okay.
a little bit more because I don't have that noted. It does say that it's within 6 months of assuming office. It is new, so I'm sure it's around 6 months also
Okay.
for existing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder, does everyone have availability for NeoGov, or is that just us? It's a
NeoGov.
training we have through the county. Because
I've never
Yeah.
heard of it.
That's where we do most of our trainings. I'll look and see if it's there, and then I'll also look and email you and see if there's if other commissioners can get on with
Okay.
that.
Awesome.
And or sending out a link for those to.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Purcell. Receive and file this report.
Thank you.
And on to the next thing that I jumped ahead on. Thank you.
No worries. So commissioner terms. We received the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors made their appointments in early January, and there were no changes to appointments. Thank you for your continued interest and participation. City member selection, we had the vacancy for Councilmember Meredith Matthews, and so the City Mayor Selection Committee met in January and appointed Commissioner White. Again, thank you for your just interest and participation in LAFCo. And then they'll be meeting again in June to consider the regular and alternate seats for the 26 to 2030 term and make those appointments. So that will be forthcoming in June. Special district member election, we have Commissioner Nicolini's and alternate commissioners Couch's seats are expiring June 30th. So we will be probably in the next month initiating the request for nominations process for all the independent special districts. And then that will be followed by a mailed ballot election to fill both of those seats. And then For the public member selection, alternate Commissioner Johnson's seat is scheduled to expire in June as well. And so we'll also be doing a public notice and press release to solicit applications. And then depending on the number of applications in March, we'll appoint a selection committee of commissioners to review applications and to do any interviews, and then come back with a recommendation for filling that seat scheduled at the May 20th regular meeting. And then that will become effective upon the expiration of the current term, and
Done by
that seat will
not
be
by
filled
annual,
for the July
I
meeting.
believe.
So attachment A includes the full membership and terms, and I'm available for any questions.
Great, thank you. Any questions from commissioners?
I just want to confirm that the process for replacement is that the city selection committee then doing for example, for me, for my, and then I'll nominate someone potentially, or, okay. I just wanted to understand the process.
Yeah, for city members, it's the mayor city selection committee, but any council member can be appointed by the selection committee. So it is good to get the word out once the seat, once that notice goes out.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Great.
Just a little thing. My first name is spelled L-E-Y. Not a big deal.
L-E-Y. Okay, thank you.
There we go. Get that correct. Okay, very good. Any other questions? And I will say this will be my last year. It's been a pleasure, but I've got another year left. I appreciate your support for chair. I'm not running again. I think you all know that. So the Board of Soups will be appointing somebody else to fill that, because I'll be done in the end of December. Retirement, yay. Okay, that's that. On that, I haven't been asking for public comment, partly because there's nobody in the room. I don't think there's anybody online either, is there?
There's not.
Okay, so just to be clear,
And it's informational reports.
yes, and it does say at the discretion of the chair.
Yep.
So I just wanted to make note that I was looking at that, but there is nobody to make comment, so. Okay, next item is the status of MSRs.
This one, we're really, no real update since the last meeting. We're continuing to work with Scotia CSD on their MSR and SOI update. We'll also be connecting with the city of Rio Dell as their neighbor and have been in touch with them. And then we're continuing to work on the city of Eureka municipal service review as well. And we'll be coming back to the city staff for really looking at their sphere. They have quite a large sphere, and they did an annexation study as part of their general plan update some years ago, and looked at their sphere and in different neighborhoods and evaluated infrastructure and just the ability to annex various areas and prioritize those areas. So we'll be using that analysis to really work with them to evaluate whether some areas should be pulled out of their sphere because it would be costly to serve, or it's not a priority for the city, and those that are a higher priority remaining within the sphere. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
Any questions from commissioners? Seeing none, we'll receive and file that report. Thank you. And that brings us to the item number 10, Executive Officer's Report.
There's one more, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Status of current and future proposals. Thank you.
And this is the one where I can talk a little bit. I included the commercial timberlands legislative advocacy in this, the North Coastal Fire Study, and some other items. So I'll go down the list. We prepared the contract for the North Coastal Fire Study. Ryan reviewed that, and I sent that to Matrix yesterday. And so they will let me know if it meets their needs, and then we'll be under contract with them. I also sent deposit requests to each of the participating agencies that are funding the study, and we'll be getting deposits very soon. So that study is going to be kicking off in early 2026, which is really exciting. Commercial timberlands, as mentioned, the commission supported staff in moving forward, just support of any legislative advocacy efforts associated with commercial timberlands and change of fire protection district law to support annexation of fire protection districts that serve commercial forested areas within state responsibility areas. And a lot's happened. We've met with Assembly Member Chris Rogers' staff in December and have been in contact with him. His staff have drafted bill language, which is really great. And I have also met with RCRC legislative staff or consultant in December, and they're coordinating me meeting with Cal Forests, which is a nonprofit. I also, through Trinity LAFCo and Supervisor Jill Cox, was able to meet with the Weaverville District Manager of Sierra Pacific Industries in January, just a couple weeks ago, and it was a good meeting. And they're very supportive of fire districts and fire departments. What I heard is they like to support on a case-by-case basis. I mean, that's really what I heard. And that they are, we talked specifically about Weaverville fire in that area because they're looking at annexing, and just the way of Sierra Pacific industry parcels that have to be excluded now will also exclude some developed property beyond those timberlands. And so there is an impact of service, and it is challenging to create logical boundaries, but they were very quick to offer support for Weaverville for any immediate support to get them through, because they know that it's going to be November 2026 or maybe even pushed beyond then for them to get a special tax increase. So that's what I heard. It's still a good opportunity to explain how it affects fire districts, how it also just how the community responded in Neelan's position, through the Neelan process, and just building understanding. So it was a good meeting, and really waiting to see if Assemblyman Rogers decides to carry forward the bill. And we're just waiting to hear. And I think I'll email his staff this week and see if there's any updates, but haven't heard a yes or a no yet.
Great.
And then future proposals, Ferndale Fire, a annexation is moving forward and will be officially filed in the next week or so. The board has approved their resolution of application for their goodwill response area, and will also be moving forward with a special tax increase in November 2026 that will then apply to the annexation area if approved by the district voters. So that one will be forthcoming, and I'll keep you posted. And then just continuing, Petrolia, Telegraph Ridge, Honeydew, they're continuing with their reorganization. There's a lot of planning associated with that too. And that's a larger, more of a consolidation, which is really exciting. And that we'll hopefully see that in the next year or early on in 2027. And that's my update.
Great. Any questions from any commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Kelly.
It's less of a question about that specific report out, which was very good, thank you. And more, is this potentially an area where we could provide suggestions for future topics? Would this be the place to maybe do that?
In relationship
Or
to
no?
these items, yeah.
No, yeah, it's may not be in relationship to these items.
It seems like an okay time to bring it
It
forward.
seems like we don't really have a good spot on the
Yeah, so-
agenda for that, so I think this is appropriate.
Okay. All right. And it would be, of course, subject to the board's interest and not just my own. I'm very curious about the Southern Humboldt Community Healthcare District, and I would love to have someone come and potentially present to LAFCo more as an information exchange on what's working, what's not, kind of a high-level overview. And with the thought in mind that down the road, we would evaluate whether or not a Northern Humboldt Community Healthcare District would be beneficial or not. And because, just in some of the discussions and, we've had here in side conversations about dental appointments and doctor appointments. And once you get them, you do not cancel them.
Yeah.
I do think that healthcare is a big issue. And so, for me, I think this would be very interesting to see, and it may not be something that works for Northern Humboldt, but it could be. So I just wanted to tee that up as to see if there was an appetite for others on the board to learn about this.
Are those districts under LAFCO?
Yes, and so
great.
what I could do is look at the service review schedule too. So we did do the Southern Humboldt Community Healthcare District Municipal Service Review some years ago when they were doing their strategic planning for their new hospital. A lot has, they've made some significant strides with purchasing, I believe. And so it would be good to update their service review. And I have, I think there is interest in that model in Northern Humboldt. So I have received inquiries before about what it would take and the various processes. But I get an inquiry and then it's radio silence. So it would be good to hear from them, and I can work on connecting with them.
Right.
Commissioner Bushnell.
I think for Northern Humboldt, you have to have a willing, place. And I know Mad River, the CEO from Garberville had been in discussions with Mad River because they're a private hospital and they, were for sale and they were having issues and all the things. And that's probably where you got the inquiry when they were talking about that. That has not, they have not moved forward with that. No, it hasn't materialized. And then also for the Southern Humboldt, they're on schedule to break ground. I just had a report from their CEO last week. Hopefully late 27. Wow. They have all the permits out to the state and to the county, and they take about a year in process. Also, LAFCo did an exception because of the to include Fortuna in that sphere, so that they could, because Dr. French was serving the Southern Humboldt area, which now he's retired, and so there's been a lot happening with that. Yeah.
Great.
Mobile
very much.
services.
Yeah, mobile services everywhere.
Yeah.
Any other commissioner comments, questions? Commissioner Weinreb.
I think it would be an excellent idea to have a similar issue come out about Northern Humboldt. I mean, I've just in my personal life, I've heard numerous people worrying about what's going to happen. Is Mad River Hospital going to close? Our various medical practices are closing. People are concerned, and I think this is something that needs to be discussed.
Okay, great. So we're hearing some good interest there. And I just have a couple quick things to add. On the North Coastal Fire Study, I think we've heard that the state has added 3,000 CAL FIRE firefighters to their ranks. In an ideal world, we'd get two out of 3,000 for the Trinidad station. So we could cancel our Amador agreement and have that entire assessment district fund Trinidad, West Haven, and Oric, Big Lagoon. So I just wanted to, maybe it's not too early to kind of put in
That's part of the study.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the study now.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because if we could get, the way I hear it, 99% of the time there's already two people in an engine there all the time, and then we're paying this extra 200, 300 grand. But it would be wonderful if we could just get that covered by two more people. And there's, CAL FIRE stations in Southern Humboldt as well. So
We're not an Amador.
Yeah, no, you're not.
No Amador contracts down there.
Right. It's volunteers that cover things year round. Lastly, I've been having meetings with Willow Creek Volunteer Fire Department and McGuire's staff. And, they recognize that they did get some significant money for Southern Humboldt in the legislative process in the last couple of years, as well as Trinity County, which is really the poorest county in all of the state on some levels. So I really appreciate that work by the senator. But Eastern Humboldt got kind of left out in all that. And so he is interested with Nora Mounts to have maybe a summit out there. So I wanted to put that on your radar, that there's talk about getting together even Salyer. The county boundary, the fire doesn't have any respect for county boundaries. But Salyer, Willow Creek, Hoopa, Orleans, something where we could all get together and strategize and try and make sure that we get some extra funding for them, especially to cover these goodwill areas and all that kind of stuff. So just a couple of quick updates there.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I've been coordinating with Willow Creek Fire and hearing that they're trying to coordinate that meeting. And then I'm also working, again, it's great to be able to do the Trinity executive officer work too, because there is that crossover. And so I'm working on a downriver fire services study for that region. And, including Willow Creek to an extent of inviting them to meetings with Salyer, Hawkins Bar, and Downriver Fire companies to talk about the region and in working together and what opportunities for capacity building for those departments and addressing the 299 traffic collisions. And then Willow Creek really is wanting to connect with them on their legislative advocacy and or their advocacy efforts at the state. So I'm trying to bring it all together, knowing that they're kind of separate but iterative processes. If looking at like boundary changes, annexation, consolidation, or and funding through special tax increases. Hawkins Bar and Downriver are volunteer fire companies, so non-tax agencies. Salyer is a CSD. They do have a special tax but need to increase it. They also have a fire chief that wants to retire. Willow Creek is looking to increase their special tax and needs to build 2 new stations. I mean, there's just a tremendous amount of needs, and they are very isolated. You go from Blue Lake, and then it's Willow Creek and Salyer, Hawkins Bar, and then Junction City. And there's this huge stretch, and it's a lonely stretch of highway. So looking at those communities together as much as we can in service reviews. And then, like you said, then there's Orleans, Hoopa too. So when we do our regional MSRs for East County Fire, we need to look at those communities too. So
great.
Lot to consider there and continue to coordinate. So we're
absolutely. And Willow Creek was even looking at buying a house in Willow Creek to house some CAL FIRE staff, if that was a potential out of this 3,000 new staff, et cetera. It didn't come through, but they're still looking at that. They do currently have a chief, but the burden on these folks is just so massive. It's hard to hold on to people. And I know you know all this. Commissioner Bushnell's been heavily involved in this topic on many, many levels. And it's not just 299, Highway 36 and Highway 96, all those corridors. Ultimately, the state needs to step up on paying for EMS, emergency medical services, because we provide ambulance by law, but we don't have to provide fire. And when somebody goes over the hill, the ambulance isn't going down there and retrieving these victims or, the persons that have been injured, et cetera. It's the volunteer fire departments that do all of that work. So thank you for that. Just wanted to make sure that was all on the radar. CAL FIRE has been talking about a new station up on Lord Ellis possibly at some point, but that's at least 10 years or further out into the future. So thank you for your work on this, along with Sibel Emmett at the Fire Ad Hoc, et cetera. So anything else from it? Yeah, Commissioner Bushnell.
I just, around the request for an update from the Garberville Hospital and the request of information for the North, I want to be mindful of staff. That's a heavy lift, and I don't know a community hospital to the North really needs to be sought after by the North and come to LAFCo. And so while you can present on it, it's a heavy lift for staff, and so I think
I
it's
agree. Mad River Hospital, I've been in meetings with them. They've asked about the LAFCo process. They were looking at models in other counties where they actually bypassed LAFCO and went through a legislative process to get a hospital district. I think it was a consolidation. But they could do that through formation. They know their options. So and they've been coordinating with Southern Humboldt Community Healthcare District, and then in Trinity there's Mountain Communities Healthcare District that does very well, but they struggle. They all struggle with funding, but I think are doing well as just very rural hospital districts.
Well, I think community hospitals, Southern Humboldt being the only one in Humboldt County, it's a different structure. All the
hospital
critical, yeah,
but
only and with the federal administration changes, there's also been stumbles there. But we can't go to North and say, we want you to do a community hospital. They really need to come to us. And so when we get a presentation, I just don't want to burden staff. And I think that the update from Garberville is great. You can ask the CEO to come. He loves doing that. And that could be not such a heavy lift for you guys. When they, expanded their service into Fortuna, they came to us, and that's how that process goes. So I just want to ask this board that we be respectful and mindful of that, and not, there's not something we can't go out and solicit for a community hospital in the North.
No, we cannot.
And I think if we got the CEO from Garberville here, then we could ask him a questions appropriately of how, because they were a private hospital at one time and they changed. And so that's something we could ask him, how that worked, what the process was, and then that could be something people in the North hear, which I know he's already engaged Mad River in the past to see if that could work. So that's just my statement.
Appreciate that. And we are lucky in Eastern County to have Kamal Hospital in Hoopa, as well as Open Door in Willow Creek. So we do have some services, but it's not nearly enough either. So thank you for all the discussion and the ideas. Appreciate it. And I really appreciate your caution. Where's it going to come from? Who's going to drive this? There's also the Trinidad Rancheria's Indian Health Center, which is a driver in our community on many things. So who knows how it might evolve. Yeah, I understand.
I can't go there.
No, I understand. It's limited services, but it is a service for that community. And it's an important one. Okay, on to the next item, which is Executive Officer's Report, I believe.
So in the packet is a legislative update from LAFCo. So good reading there. Let me know if there's any questions you have. But also I just wanted to let you know that there is a LAFCo webinar coming up. It's for their California U, or LAFCo U, sorry. And it's a LAFCo 101 webinar. This is something that they do at the LAFCo conferences a lot, and it's so well received. It's great for new commissioners, great for tenured commissioners still to really wrap their brain around, and usually some good examples too from other parts of the state. So that's on February 25th from 10 to 11:30. That sounds like the same date but it is
23rd and then the 25th. Yeah.
Wow, they're busy.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, that seems really close to the other one. So we'll send out the flyer on that and directions. You have to go, and we could likely help get you registered, but we have to make a member ID for you specifically on the LAFCo webpage and register you through that. So let me know if anyone's interested, and we can follow up via email.
Okay.
And that's my report. Thanks
and
for the
short.
discussion today. Really, I just appreciate the thoughtfulness and just continued consideration for all things that LAFCO, LAFCO's broad authority and considerations when it comes to boundary changes and services and efficient service delivery. So thank you.
Well, and thank you for your work. Appreciate it. And with that, there's no written correspondence. Okay, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.